Sean.
You know, in all my years, I've never set foot outside the Institute. Not once. Since the day they brought me here. I've never had a reason. But now, this just confirms the truth I've always known. The Commonwealth is dead. There's no future here. The only hope for humanity lies below.
It wasn't always like this. It used to be different.
I can only imagine. Standing here, I'm reminded of how fortunate I am that I was spared a life in this wasteland. I know that to you, I was kidnapped from that vault. In truth, the Institute rescued me. Both of us, really.
They left me on ice. For 60 years.
They did. And for good reason. I was the perfect candidate. An infant with uncorrupted DNA. But if something were to go wrong, if I died, well, the Institute realized a contingency plan was prudent. Another source of pre-war DNA, preferably related to their primary subject. It only made sense that my parents should fill that role. So you were kept alive and safe within the vault. I'll admit, when I had you released from Vault 111, I had no expectations that you'd survive out here in all this. To not only do so, but manage to find me. To infiltrate the Institute itself. Extraordinary.
So it was you. You let me out.
Yes. It was my decision. Certainly it was no longer necessary to keep you suspended. Well, I suppose I wanted to see what would happen. An experiment of sorts. I had no idea what kind of man you were, you see. Would the Commonwealth corrupt you, as it has everything else? Would you even survive? Perhaps most curious to me, would you, after all this time, attempt to find me? And now I know the answer.
That's all this is to you? All I am to you? Just another experiment?
No, that's not all. But still, I'm glad it turned out the way it did. There are greater things to come after your success at Bunker Hill. The synths have been safely returned and will be repurposed. Thank you for your work. I hope you weren't at too much risk.
What do you mean, the synths will be repurposed?
Modifications will be made to correct the defects in their programming, and they'll be assigned to new duties within the Institute. Not the first or last time it will happen. The railroad remains an annoyance, of course, but they'll be dealt with as necessary. And you, well, you've passed the test, as they say. You have done well. Please, take this as a token of my appreciation. Our appreciation, really. It's time for you to become more involved in the future of the Institute. I'd like you to join me inside. The Directorate is meeting, and you should be there. I'll be waiting. I've seen enough. It's time to go back in.
Talia were quite a handful.
Sean.
Let's get this directorate meeting over with before we speak further. Well, it's important. Let's get this directorate meeting over with before we speak further. Well, it's important. Good, we're all here. I think it's time we begin.
Sir, excuse me, but what exactly is he doing here?
I will address that issue. But there are other subjects that require our attention first. The level of unrest in the Commonwealth continues to rise, as we're all aware. Your report.
All Institute facilities remain completely secure, with the exception of one notable breach. Otherwise, internally, things are as tight as they've ever been. Dr. Ayo has been keeping an eye on things topside.
Yes, Watchers show no additional threats beyond those previously identified. We're still monitoring the increased activity around Fort Independence, but there are no immediate signs we should be concerned. Boston International Airport remains occupied, with Brotherhood presence noted at several other points throughout the Commonwealth. Intelligence suggests that this railroad continues to operate and is becoming more ambitious. SRB agents are monitoring all known situations, sir.
Very good, thank you. It's clear that our safety needs to be the primary concern going forward. To that end, where are we on Phase 3?
Excuse me, but, sir, are you sure this is, well, the proper time to be discussing that? Considering, given all parties present?
Ah, yes, that's true. Have you heard anything about Phase 3?
I have no idea what that is.
I'll admit I'm relieved. It's intended to be something of a classified project, which I'm sure means everyone already knows. Power is, as I'm sure you've seen above ground. I'm not talking about some abstract concept of control. I mean real, tangible. With every advance the Institute makes, our need for raw power. Many compromises and sacrifices have been made over the years.
What kind of compromise?
We have at times had to rely on drawing power from above-ground installations. But no longer. Phase 3 is simply the activation of a nuclear reactor that can provide enough power to the Institute. It will ensure not just our survival.
Sounds like an important...
That's... The reactor is close to ready. But recent tests have determined we have a few tasks ahead of us. And to how you will...
Sir.
Yes, Dr. Ayo. Previously, we would rely on Kellogg for above-ground operations, yes? Well, he is gone. While I'm not overly fond of putting my own father in harm's way, he has proven more than capable of
Yes, but...
This is not a matter for debate. Now, there is one more subject that requires discussion.
I don't know that this is the time.
Dr. Holdren, it is time. Please. As I'm sure several of you are already aware, I have been under Dr. Volkert's care for some time. I'm sorry, this is difficult for me. Our best efforts have failed. Every experimental treatment we could devise has been unsuccessful. I'm sorry to say I am dying.
No! Can't be serious!
Everyone, please. I am sorry. This is not how I wanted to tell you, but we're running out of time.
There must be something we can do to help you.
The only thing that matters now is continuing the Institute's work. It will... We can talk more later. Right now, the future, the Institute cannot survive without leadership. The Directorate must continue to govern with the best interest. To that end, I am naming my father as my successor.
Oh, boy.
You can't be serious!
Really?
How can you possibly justify this? He isn't one of us. He isn't even a scientist.
Ignoring your borderline, insubordinate tone, I will simply say this. The Institute has enough scientists. What it needs is a leader. I believe my father has already proven himself more than capable in that regard. This will conclude this meeting.
Safety first. Remember that.
I had no idea.
I know this is... well, it's a lot to take in it.
I'm sorry, Father. I hope it wasn't too presumptuous of me to put you in charge with them.
I don't know if I'm right for this.
Well, clearly.
Right.
There's no question that some of the Directorate and the Institute at large will need reassurance. That's why I'd like you to take charge of this latest operation. There are hard decisions ahead for all of us, but for you especially.
I wish you could have known Father as we have.
From what I hear, that rogue synth of the Battalion is a real menace.
Synth Unit, you were scheduled for maintenance duty in SRB last night. Anything you'd like to report?
Nothing to report, sir. I carried out my duties, as usual.
Dr. Ao saw you accessing the terminal. You know you are not permitted to access terminals in that section. Is Dr. Ao mistaken?
Yes. I mean, no, he's not. But I was only...
Director Holdren seems very taken with you.
Accessing the terminal in SRB.
I was, but I swear it's not what it says. I was cleaning the terminal and it switched on by mistake.
Busy day for you, isn't it? Well, it's about to get busier. You're going to lead this...
Absolutely.
All right.
Sure.
Recent events have upset our timetable. Getting the reactor online has become our #1 priority. It needs to be running, well, yesterday. We're going to have to cut some corners. I'm not thrilled, but it means we'll need to rely on some pre-war... You're going to the mass fusion building to acquire a beryllium agitator.
Consider it done.
I'll consider it done when I've got it in my hand.
No way. You're not...
Well, that's about the most insulting thing I've heard in a while. Okay, you're on your own then. Good luck. Not to put more pressure on you, but we have to move quickly on this. Word is,
Sure.
we don't want them getting the agitator before... Head on up to the relay, and they'll get you over to mass fusion in a flash. Pun sort of intended.
I don't see the beryllium agitator anywhere. They must have moved it.
Calm down, Noel. You knew that this was coming. I don't understand why you're acting this way.
Don't tell me to calm down, Carl. When we started designing the beryllium agitator, you said it would be for the benefit of mankind. Instead, I find out that you have been planning on turning it over to the military all along. You lied to me.
Don't give me that high and mighty attitude. Have you picked up a newspaper lately? There's a war going on out there, Doctor. And if our side's going to win, it needs all the help it can get.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. Since when did science start taking sides? What did they promise you, Carl? Money? Political favors? A goddamn medal?
That's enough. Like it or not, when the testing cycle is completed, I'm crating up the agitator and sending it off to Washington.
Sweet. heads up.
Go ahead.
See what you can do.
Good thing. They locked the door tight. But did they leave open a window? There we go.
Something's out there.
Hey, over here, man.
Intruder alert!
Standing down.
Target located!
Who's there? Been hearing things all day.
Let's wrap this up, shall we?
Heads up.
I'm listening.
Needs your expertise.
Wow. I bet you forgot to... Open for business.
Initiating decontamination sequence. Decontamination complete. You may proceed.
movement detected. Curious.
That.
I'm looking forward to working.
We don't usually welcome outsiders. I hope you can appreciate your good fortune.
Dr. Fillmore.
Well, I see you managed on your own. I won't lie. I was a little nervous you wouldn't pull it off. Seems I need... I'll make sure the agitator gets... I understand Father is anxious to get you involved in something else. You'd better...
Uh-huh.
From what I hear, that rogue sent for the trial took the medics.
Getting extra rest. I see. Any additional pain in attendance?
Not that I've noticed.
Interest. How's your energy? Feeling any fatigue?
No more than I'd expect from a man of my age.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. I think that will be all for now.
But I haven't quite finished.
I believe we're done now. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I understand mass fusion was a success, despite interference from the
We handled them just fine.
That's what Dr. Fillmore reported. I'm quite pleased at the results. Would have been a terrible setback. The Brotherhood's intervention must be placed in a larger context, however, given their penchant for hoarding. Future conflict with them is guaranteed. We are, after all, keepers of the most advanced. It also cannot go unnoticed that there were concerns within the Institute about your allegiances. I, of course, never doubted your commitment to our cause. But by directly confronting the Brotherhood, I'm proud of you. Regardless, The Brotherhood is an issue for the future. And look at me. Rambling on. I'm wasting time. You're...
Do you need more parts for the reactor? I could have gotten them all.
No, this is hopefully one that does not put any... This situation, I'm afraid, is something of your creation. However, on it...
What do you mean by that?
Well, while you were assisting Dr. Fillmore, a second team was sent out to invite someone from the Commonwealth to...
Sure.
Apparently, there was some miscommunication, and this individual called for help, which arrived in the form of... My understanding is that no shots have been fired. I need you to go there and speak to your Minutemen gathered outside. Dr. Thompson is on site, and he will... I know you can resolve this situation. But it is of paramount importance that this special individual be brought to...
Why all this effort?
Mr. Wallace? Despite a lack of formal training, with his help, we may be able to drastically...
Sake, be reasonable. I know you can hear me. Now open this door.
What's going on?
What's the use? Dr. Higgs and Dr. Loken have decided to protest your appointment as father's successor. They've taken control of the bioscience security systems.
Have they made it?
Not yet, but I expect they'll demand that you renounce all ties to the...
Maybe I can reason.
I believe I can help. I can unlock the maintenance tunnel that leads to the bioscience op. From there, you should be able to communicate with Higgs. If you can't reason with them, you can use this holotape to access the command functions on the observation. That should give you some options. Just please, try to talk to them first. Here we are. Just give me a moment. There, it's unlocked.
Terminated.
Something. Made it past the guards. Impressive. If you've come to change our minds, then you're wasting your time.
Can we talk about this?
Father chose not to talk to the Directorate before anointing you his successor.
person.
Unlike you, Dr. We have more than enough food to stay locked in here. You and the others will go...
Last chance, Doctor.
This is much bigger than just you and I. I'm protecting... The answer is no. Father's heir apparent. He made it past your impenetrable defenses.
What have you got that for?
Compose
Can't
yourself.
pick this.
We've always taken risks. We are still in control.
is someone present. You must die now, human. Hostile sensor reading detected.
It's over, Dr. Higgs.
What do you plan to do now? Kill us and take the key? Go on then. Prove how right we were.
You're beaten, Dr. Higgs. The plan failed. Now open the door.
No. I refuse. Now do your worst.
You're a fool if you can't see that. Now, unless you intend to shoot me. Stand aside.
Hey, Doc.
We have several people qualified to become the next director. Father's lost his mind. Future generations will remember this decision, Max. I'll make sure of it. There's a lot of hubris around here lately, and I don't care for it.
No way to pick this.
Confine ourselves to quarters. Our fate's decided. We can at least face the consequences with our dignity intact.
What choice do we have?
Bravo! I admit I was fearing for the worst, but I can see that I underestimated you.
I'm just glad they listened to...
There is one further matter to discuss.
Right.
Obviously, some kind of disciplinary action must be taken.
Put them on probation. Limit their access to quarters.
That's more than fair. I'll see you to... I'll take that holo. I also wanted to offer you something as a more personal expression. I know that your work often takes you to the surface where supplies are scarce. I gathered these items together for you. I think...
going on here?
You're an unexpected surprise. We could use the backup. These Institute bastards aren't getting away. We don't know quite what we're up against, but it's good you're here to help. How did you hear about this?
You've done good work.
Thank you. Sir, so, how do you want to play this? We thought about trying to lure him out here, since it'd be easier to kill him. But then we realized we probably ought to storm the place, to make sure they can't disappear on us. That makes sense, right? So, you want to lead the charge?
No one is going to do anything. Tell your men to stand down.
I don't... Are you kidding me? If we don't do something now, they're going to take that poor guy wherever it is they go. And we'll have failed. Again. Are you going to order the attack or not?
This whole thing is just a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding. Can't wait to hear this. Explain to me how this is a misunderstanding.
You sure you're willing to risk being wrong about this?
I'm tired of risking things. I'm tired of risking lives. And that's why I'm not letting them take this guy. If you're not with us, then you best get the hell out of here before we take you down as one of them. Hi, how are you?
Look alive.
What's the plan? Something to get off your chest?
Your thoughts?
Storming Bunker Hill. The Institute...
Right. Nothing else for now.
Well, all right.
Oh, thank God you're here. I was starting to worry we might not make it out of this.
Everything's taken care of.
Good, good. It was bad enough that Wallace started.
Weren't you prepared for...
Of course not. It was supposed to be a simple chat with Wallace and an invitation to join us. Can we just get on with it? I know he's potentially important to Phase 3 and all, but I'm not sure it's worth putting ourselves...
If he's really important to the Institute.
You're right. I know they've been keeping an eye on him for years. Not sure how they originally found him, but once they realized how smart he was and what an asset he could be for Phase 3, I think they even fed him scientific material from time to time to see how good he... Let's just get Wallace...
No argument from me.
Right. There's just... well, there's a slight problem with that. I was thinking...
Uh-huh. No problem.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Busted. Mr. Wallace, I'm here to talk to you.
You're another one of them, aren't you? Are you a robot?
Sir, are you okay? Have you been injured in any way?
I'm locked in a bathroom to avoid killer robots. I've heard all the stories. I know exactly what happens to people when the Institute shows up.
What can I say to convince you that we're not...
That you're leaving, and never...
Hey, just calm down, okay?
Fine, fine.
Uh-huh. The Institute needs your help, Mr. Wallace.
My help? With...
Right.
The Institute has an engineering problem that your scientific expertise could help solve. In exchange for helping us out, you'd be granted access to the most advanced research facility, whatever research you wanted to perform. You'd be safe and secure in a way that's complete.
You'd be helping us create a...
That...
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You must be pretty excited being named the next... Okay. Thanks.
Hey, I'm here to help.
I really mean it. I'll see you back in the instant.
I want to be left alone.
This better be an emergency.
That's a nice little setup. Wouldn't mind one of these at the agency.
Everyone else may be closed, but Diamond City Surplus is open 24 hours a day.
I wouldn't be here if not for your son.
There you are. I cannot express how pleased I am. Our new guest is familiarizing himself with his surroundings. Yet he's already pointed out several inefficiencies in our methods. With his help, Phase 3 will be ready in no time. And it's all thanks to you.
I'm proud to help the Institute. Here's hoping it all pays off.
At this point, there is no doubt. It will succeed, and very shortly. There is one more part for you to play, and I think you might enjoy it. It is time to announce our presence to the Commonwealth, to request that they do not interfere with our plans. You should be the one to do it.
That's a good idea. Hopefully we can prevent violence and save some lives.
Yes, that is one goal. And if you are to be the new director of the Institute, you should be the one to do it. We've prepared some remarks for you to record. Once you're finished, we'll broadcast them to the entire Commonwealth.
Use the microphone here and follow the script. It's quite simple. I'm sure you'll do fine, Father.
If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much further. If you could, please finish up the speech. We'll need the final recording before we go too much
further. For years now, you have suspected that the Institute still exists. That we are among you. It is true. But it is not the whole truth. We're here. And we are. Here to help. Our superior technology represents the future of the Commonwealth. Today, we activate our nuclear reactor, ensuring that we will persevere long after the world above ground ceases to exist. Ensuring that mankind has a future. We have no desire to interfere in the unimportant details of your personal freedoms. We simply insist that you do not interfere with Institute operations. To do so would result in unnecessary difficulties for all parties. Rest easy. Know that the future is looking bright, and that mankind will thrive under our guidance. Son.
Well, that was interesting. Perhaps not what we originally intended, but it will. Now it's time to make sure that... How would you feel about making a little trip?
I can use some fresh air.
A quaint phrase. Though I'm afraid the air there is anything but... The radio station in Diamond City is listed. If we'd like the people to hear what we have to say before we preempt their broadcast, we need to ensure it. I've been assured that the necessary parts are on site. You report back when you're done.
Between the Brotherhood and Institute? Want to bunk the Helldivers?
Hi. There.
Let's try this. Maybe this goes here.
I usually... But...
In you go.
This is why. Don't break my stuff if you don't mind.
From what I hear, that rogue synth at Libertalia was a real menace. Had its back where it belongs.
If you encounter a hazardous chemical spill, please alert the facilities division immediately.
Enjoy your trip to the big city. It's done then? The transmitter has been modified.
Everything is in place. It's ready to go when we are.
Good. Once the reactor is online, we'll cut into it.
Right.
I'll let you do the honors. This, my friends, is the moment we've all worked towards. After all your effort, the time has finally come to start our reactor. No longer will we be forced to compromise to survive. No more will we need worry about outpacing our resources. My father and I couldn't be more proud of what you have helped us accomplish. And we look forward to achieving even greater things in the future. The Institute is now truly mankind's best hope. Thank you. All of you. This truly is a place, isn't it?
Son.
It's almost hard to believe. After all those years, look what you've made possible.
I did good work, didn't I?
Yes. Yes, you did. There's more work to be done before the Institute's future is guaranteed. The Directorate has convened a meeting about how to proceed. I'm not going to attend. You should be there as Director. I often wonder what the Institute's founders would think of our accomplishments. I'm glad you could be here to share this with me. Hello, Father. I hope your time in the Institute has been enjoyable. Our advances will, in time, change the world. This truly is a wonderful place, isn't it? I often wonder what the Institute's founders would think of our accomplishments.
Sean.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved.
Remember to practice good sanitation habits at all times.
Sounds like those raiders at Libertalia were quite a handful.
X688 sounded very impressed
May I
with
be
your
the first to
work at
welcome you,
Libertalia.
sir. We're looking
He
forward
doesn't
to
give
working
praise
with
lightly.
you.
Well done.
I'm happy to be here, Dr. Fillmore. I hope I do the position justice.
I'm sure you will.
Right now, we're all here because it's finally time to stand up for ourselves.
Let's not be dramatic, Justin.
There's nothing dramatic about it. We're in a position to push back, to assert ourselves here. That's what we've talked about all along.
To bring you up to speed, obviously there are groups in the Commonwealth that stand in opposition to the Institute's goals. With the reactor now online, we have the ability to not only expand synth production, but to project power to a much greater degree.
Where are you going with this? What's the Institute's goal?
Well, the Directorate has agreed that steps must be taken to ensure our safety in the long run.
Let's just spit it out, shall we? The Directorate has decided that the Brotherhood of Steel need to be eliminated.
As the incoming director, we felt it important to inform you of the decision and get your thoughts on it. So, where do you stand?
I think the last thing the Institute needs now is to make things worse. We should be trying to avoid conflict, not starting it.
I would love to see that big airship fly off over the horizon, but it's not gonna happen. The conflict is already upon us. Unless we end it now, it's only going to get worse.
We really don't have a choice. If we're to emerge from this the victors, we need to move quickly. As director, it's up to you and how we focus our efforts in achieving this goal. We'd like your input on what direction we should take. Do we increase synth production or focus on weapons development?
I've seen enough to know that weapons are the key to winning wars. Let's focus on weapons.
As you wish. The advanced systems folks will get to work. Thank you very much for your time. That's all we have for the moment. I believe Father wished to speak with you once our...
Father has always been a little unpredictable. I suppose his choice of a successor shouldn't surprise me.
We're making real progress, thanks to you.
There you are. You've met with the Directorate. I assume they made their intentions known? It was difficult for them to reach the decision to engage in open hostility.
I think it's a mistake.
It should be clear by now that if we wait, we will be destroyed. Acting swiftly is the... You know, Father, it's no secret that you worked with the Railroad in order to first... The depth of your involvement with them has been called into question repeatedly. The question is, where do you stand with...
How I feel about...
No, it is important. For the Institute's position in the Commonwealth to be secure, as our primary above-ground operative and someone who has had previous contact with the Railroad. So what I'm getting at, simply...
Is this really...
I'm afraid it is. I take no pleasure in it, but it must be done.
I can take care of them.
Good. Good.
Surplus power should translate to increased efficiency. And product.
I just heard the most fascinating rumor.
The story goes that you actually found the Institute. Been there and back again. Sounds crazy, right?
It's all true.
Deacon says you used teleporting. We know you got inside with the help of the Brotherhood of Steel. Or at the very least, you're true. So let's put it to the test. We have a vital mission that only you...
I don't know.
You can't seriously be considering working with the Brother. They'd kill them all. Please. Sam!
You better not try that again.
Good to see you. It's my responsibility to make sure this password is...
And so, the work is done. I am sorry. I know it was likely.
It was tough.
I assure you that there was no other way. Their fanaticism wouldn't have allowed it. There is obviously one final threat.
What is it?
Well, perhaps the Brotherhood of Steel covets technology and has made it clear they will eventually come for us and attempt to take... We need to destroy them.
You're right.
I'm glad you... But the problem with the Brotherhood of Steel goes beyond the edges of the Commonwealth. There are more of them out there in the world, Father.
You have something in mind.
I'd like to prevent it from happening. We will show them that if they interfere with us, the very technology they value, we will teach them that we can appear at a moment's notice, where they will know better than to...
You seem pretty...
The Institute is not... Dr. Watson should be in the lab.
Sure.
Time is up.
Nice work bringing that girl to center.
Surplus power should translate to increased efficiency and productivity.
Have you seen my girls?
Dr. Watson.
Did you need something?
Too much trouble.
Any special projects?
Are you referring to something in...
Sean says it's time.
Oh, well, I suppose we should... Let's go, Rosalind. Sean says it's time.
What now? I'm still working over the code that robotics sent over. The algorithm is a mess. It's not even close to peak efficiency.
I know, but we need to move quickly on this. Dr. Orman has done most of the hands-on work, so I'll let...
Okay, thanks. Is this... So, you know that the Brotherhood's main operation is at the...
Uh-huh. I'm aware of that.
Okay, good. If they were a little less intelligent, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We'd have just swarmed, but they're not idiots. They've managed to generate an EM field that's messing with our ability.
So, we just relay on...
Won't do us any good. There's no direct connection between their robot and the air, so the immediate area around their encampment is a no-go. They don't, however, have the intel. We can relay you in to a point at the edge of the airport, and then you can get in and take down the...
We'll have the element of surprise.
Exactly. You'll have surprise on your side. Should give you some time before they can organize... For every generator you take down, it means we can start relaying in synths. And... Oh!
Oh, thanks. Grenades.
No, they're not. This thing, and I haven't come up with a good name for it yet, it basically deploys a beacon marker. Wherever they land, we can lock onto them and relay synths directly to that position. If there's a hotspot, you can drop... We've only got a few of these, so put them to good use.
Okay, that's...
I know, right? I mean... Your real job will be to reach Liberty Prime.
It's the Brotherhood's giant robot.
Right. They think it's their ultimate weapon. We've taken everything we know, made a few modifications based on what we think, and, this part was my idea, uploaded the whole thing into a modified synth, capable of delivering the...
Sure.
The little guy is going to be exposed and vulnerable, so you'll have to keep an eye...
With Liberty Prime on our...
He's not going to go stomping around, and he won't be taking orders. But he will have his weapons and targeting system, and he'll absolutely recognize their airship as the primary communist target. So your end goal is ultimately pretty simple. Get to the robot, then hold... Oh, and don't worry. We'll pull you out of...
If you've got any questions, this is where you ought to...
No questions.
All right, good luck.
Dr. Lee might not show it, but I can tell she's excited about having the reactor online. I've already started thinking about the next reactor. I'm convinced that anti-matter... Sleep is such a waste of time. I'd rather be designing more efficient...
Sounds like those raiders at Libertalia were quite a handful.
Let me end your suffering. assessment. Red Chinese presence detected. Area incursions by communist forces cannot succeed. Initiating directive 7395. Destroy all communists.
Time to go, sir. We're relaying to a safe location. Unit X688 speaks highly of your combat skills.
Our technology must seem pretty advanced.
A clean and healthy work environment is essential to maximum productivity.
Hello, Sean.
Ah. There you are. I've already heard the news. But of course, I'm glad it worked, but
We're all safe.
for now. Yes, but Ali has always been loyal to the Institute, and to me. Once I'm gone,
I'll do my best.
I know you. Don't worry about me. Our time together has been... I spent years wondering what you were like. Thinking about all we missed out on. I want you to know that I'm grateful for the time we've had.
I'm glad I found you.
As am I. Thank you. Father, you've helped a boy achieve his dreams. I think I'd like to sleep now.
I've lost Sean. All over again. I close my eyes. I see my life before all of this. Before the bombs. Everything can change in an instant. And the future you plan for yourself shifts, whether or not you're ready. At some point, it happens to all of us. This wasn't the world I wanted, but it was the one I found myself in. The Commonwealth. My home. Ripped apart and put back together. I hoped I could find my family, cheat time, make us whole again. The way we were. But now I know. I know I can't go back. I know the world has changed. That the road ahead will be hard. This time, I'm ready. Because I know war. War never changes.